G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people. Midweek report time. Now, this one's going to be short and sweet. Now, I am doing this late on a Thursday, by the way, as well, which is technically not midweek, but Now, this one, as I said, it's going to be short and sweet. Few reasons. One, obviously, as you can tell by the background, not at my usual place, but I am trying out a new stand. And this one is quite big, so it's actually making this a lot easier. But obviously, the Wi-Fi in here is not the best. Never really is in hotels, truth be told. And I forgot to bring my spare iPhone. So what I normally use for just checking the news as I go along is out of action, obviously. So it's kind of just off the top of my head. Now, realistically, the main topics of discussion that we are going to talk about is Conor Benn and the alleged. This is being. I seen this reported the other night. Now, it is only alleged at the minute, okay? So until we get maybe smoke and gun where, I don't know, is it UCAD or someone like that comes out and says otherwise, we have to take this with a bit of a grain of salt. But it's being reported that there was also another failed drugs test for Conor Benn before, right? They didn't specify when, but he's only fought once other time this year, which was, I think, April against Chris Van Heerden. So it's being reported that there was allegedly another failed drugs test. Now, if that's true, and this has happened, questions, it's not just Eddie Hearn, but questions about you. Well, we're going to say UCAP, but maybe the British Boxing Board of Control seriously need to be asked, because this has happened before where fighters have failed tests. A good example would be Tyson Fury. Apparently he failed the drugs test for the nandrolone, wasn't it nandrolone he failed for in the Christian Hammer fight in February 2015, and that wasn't brought to the public attention until the summer of 2016. So again, questions need to be asked if this is happening, because to me this is just scandalous if it's the case. Now, Conor Benn also took to Instagram, basically saying that when he's vindicated, he expects an apology. Well, or the words to that effect. I mean, it's not looking good at the minute. It has to be said. You know, I don't really know how he's gonna spin this, like what they're, because Eddie Hearn gave an interview with Boxing Social and he said, look, you'll kind of know more in a week or two. He's still proclaiming innocence. It's a mess, you know, it really truly is. It's an absolute mess what's going on. And yeah, I mean, it's just, as I think when I seen that article come up first a couple of days ago, I think it was Tuesday evening, I was just thinking, never rains but it pours. And that seems to be the way it's been lately for Conor Benn, Eddie Hearn and DAZN. It just seems to be just constantly raining and there's no kind of sun on the horizon. So that's the situation with Conor Benn. Now, as I said, look, it looked pretty damn bad. And if there has been a test earlier on this year, which was a second one, and it's only now we're hearing about it, again, given the fact that VADA were the ones who conducted the test, which showed adverse findings for Conor Benn's test was last week. If it's only coming out now because of that, serious questions need to be asked. I mean, serious questions do need to be asked about that. So that's the situation there. Obviously, Fury versus Chisora 3, I think was it Frank Warren said, expect an announcement on Tuesday. Well, it's now Thursday, we ain't heard anything. Not that I'm complaining necessarily, but that fight right there is just like, they'll sell it as a trilogy, they'll make some money from it. It's an easy fight for Tyson Fury at this point in Chisora's career. You know, Chisora will build it up well, Fury will build it up well, but look, it's just an easy fight with a bit of money. That's kind of how I see it for both guys. You know, Tyson Fury will probably give Chisora a couple of rounds, you know, let him carry him a little bit, because Fury beat Chisora handily back in 2014. That'll be 8 years come this November, come next month, middle of next month. I think it was the 17th of November, thereabouts, when he fought Chisora back in 2014. He beat him handily. it's going to be exactly the same now. But I don't think Tyson Fury will end it, in a round or two. I think he'll drag it on for a few rounds and then just boom, crash bang wallop, kind of like that. I was on with Chris Andre on Monday. I think it was Monday anyway, and we were talking about opponents. And Otto Dillian for me made a bit of sense. You've already beaten him. And I'll talk about Dillian now in a sec because there's rumours about him and AJ, which is actually quite a good fight. I'll talk about that now in a sec. But you've already beaten him. It's a southpaw. He's not as fast. He's not as good a mover as Usyk, but you'll have a southpaw stance that you get a bit used to. He does throw a lot of punches, so being interested, it would get him a little bit better prepared for an Alexander Usyk. I don't see it with Chisora, but with another opponent which was mentioned was Andy Ruiz. Now Andy Ruiz did put his name in the hat, and I have to say, look, this is just me from the outside looking in. Some people could say, gee, it's a bit of a strange one. But if I was managing Tyson Fury, I'd be saying, fight Ruiz next. Fight Andy Ruiz next. Because Andy Ruiz, as far as I'm concerned, tailor-made for Tyson Fury. And for Tyson Fury to look good doing it. And I think for Tyson Fury to go in there and fight Andy Ruiz, I don't think he'd lose a round. Would he stop him? Andy Ruiz has always shown a good chin. But for sure, he'd struggle to lose a round. Seriously. Slow feet like that, not good head movement, he'd have a field day with him. I think he'd have a field day with Andy Ruiz, Tyson Fury. You can, former world champion, beat AJ. If you do a better job, if you stop him, well, AJ, lest we forget, you could say, AJ went 12 rounds and looked good. Yeah, but he also lost. He also got splattered all around New York City by Andy Ruiz in the first fight. If you were talking percentage-wise, what I would give Chisora or Ruiz. With Chisora, you're talking a 5% chance of beating Tyson Fury, if even. With Ruiz, maybe a 15% chance of beating Tyson Fury. It is a little bit higher, but I'd still take that risk. Because, I guess, risk-reward, I suppose, at the end of the day. But for me, when I look at the styles, I'd be just like, Andy Ruiz is like made for you, Tyson Fury. He's made for you. Those slow feet, you'd have a field day with him. You'd have a field day with him. So, look, it looks like we're getting Chisora in December. It is what it is. In terms of Anthony Joshua, there was talk about him and Chris Arreola. Now, I'm hearing rumours. Well, I heard a rumour that Dillian Whyte was linked to Chris Arreola, but now we're hearing it'll be Jermaine Franklin. Now, Jermaine Franklin's, his name has been chucked around with Dillian Whyte for a while now. Lest we forget, last October, Dillian Whyte was meant to fight Otto Dillian, but there was a lot of rumours before that Jermaine Franklin, I keep forgetting his name. I think I was going to call him Franklin Jefferson there for a sec. Don't know where that name came from. Jermaine Franklin. I have to keep remembering that name. But he was linked with Dillian Whyte last year. Didn't happen. Otto Dillian was the opponent. That fight never happened. We all know what happened in the long run. But there's talk about him fighting him, or Dillian Whyte fighting him on November 26th. So it's a comeback fight against an undefeated opponent, but lest we forget, he's undefeated. But Frank, if you've seen him, not good. Not a particularly good heavyweight. Dillian Whyte should get the job done. Now, rumour is it's going to be on DAZN. It'd be standard DAZN, definitely. I think that the pay-per-view days for Dillian Whyte are well and truly in the past, unless it was a Joshua or someone like that, or maybe a Wilder, maybe even a Wilder. So, we got that. So, that looks like the road Dillian Whyte's going down. Now, originally we were told, well, I heard a few good, few strong sources that Dillian Whyte was going to face Daniel Dubois. Off the table now. Dubois is facing the guy called Kevin Laharin, I think is how you pronounce it. A cruiserweight, basically. He had his first real dip in the heavyweight division a couple of months ago when he fought Marius Wack, beat him on points. So he's going in there against Daniel Dubois. Now, he will have some speed, but he is going to be massively undersized. I don't see why they couldn't have just got someone like a Takam or someone like that, who you'd give Dubois a chance over, or you definitely pick Dubois over. But you could see that fight being a fun enough fight. Carlos Takam is very, very strong. Would he be able to give as good as he gets? He probably could give as good as he gets, but he'd get worn down in the end. So that's who Daniel Dubois is in there with next. In terms of Anthony Joshua, I mentioned Otto Dillian. Otto Dillian gave an interview with ID Boxing and saying that they've been in contact. I think that some people could say, gee, AJ fighting another southpaw, that's 3 back-to-back fights against the southpaw, obviously 2 with Usyk. and one with Otto Wallin. I don't mind the Otto Wallin fight personally. I think that it actually, for me, would help AJ in his rehabilitation. If he does a better job on him than Fury does, that's a bit more confidence. It'll also give him the confidence of going in there with a southpaw and showing that, hang on a sec, I can beat these southpaws. I can beat this guy. I can take his shots. Wallin's not really a punter, he's more a slasher. And I think that it would help AJ on two levels. It would definitely rebuild his confidence. He could always say, well, Fury struggled with him. I didn't struggle as bad as that, provided, of course, he wins. And get a win back against the southpaw. So it'd be like, well, at least, Usyk is a southpaw. Didn't beat him, but I beat Otto Wallin. So I can beat southpaws. So I think it's not a bad fight in terms of matchmaking for Anthony Joshua. I wouldn't be better than Chris Arreola, certainly. So I don't really mind that fight. I think it's actually a decent enough scrap for a comeback fight. I've no issue with that whatsoever. The interesting thing about Josh Taylor, I'm on to Josh Taylor now. Again, I'm going off memory, trying to remember everything that's happened in the last few days and put it into my head. Josh Taylor, obviously, he has now officially parted ways with Ben Davison. Forgive me, something, is it McNally? I can't remember the trainer's name, who he's joined with. Again, I don't have my phone with me here, but he's officially parted ways with Ben Davison. Now, I always felt that Ben Davison gets a little bit too much criticism. He doesn't do himself any favours, 100%, with the way he can be. He loves the camera, he loves giving it, he always likes, even if it's nothing to do with him, he always likes chiving in. I can see how he rubs people up the wrong way, but I definitely don't think he's as bad a trainer as people make it out to be. But obviously, as soon as Josh Taylor won his fight against Jack Catterall and looked terrible doing it, and really Jack Catterall should have won the fight, a lot of people were saying, Shane McGuigan even said, that's not the Josh Taylor I trained. So a lot of people were really kind of getting on Josh Taylor, and maybe he's heard that and thought, everyone's saying it's Ben Davison isn't good enough, he's the reason why I didn't look so good against Jack Catterall, so he's changed it up. So look, we'll see how it goes. Look, I don't think Ben Davison is as bad as people make him out to be. I think that he just rubs people up the wrong way, and when you do that, critique of you is going to be amplified tenfold. Look at Tony Bellew, is a perfect example. A lot of people were saying, and look, I've done a video on it. Bellew got a lot of crap, especially last week when he came out in defence of Eddie Hearn, and he deserved a bit of crap for that because that was just silly. But when you rub people up the wrong way in interviews, when you're biased, etc., and the same Ben Davison, when the lions come to your door, they're going to come with everything. And I think that's what happened with Ben Davison. When Ben Davison has a fighter who loses or has a really bad performance, the fact that he rubs people up the wrong way, he is going to get it tenfold. And I wonder if Josh Taylor has maybe looked at the criticism he got, and maybe how some people kind of went overboard with the criticism, and he's taken that and said, you know what, I need to move it on. I need to swap it up. Josh Taylor has gone and done that. Chris Eubank Sr. has been on TalkSport and really not happy. Still not happy with the £3 extra that Eubank Jr. was going to cut. Now, obviously, we know Eubank Jr. weighed in on Saturday. I think he weighed 159 just to show he could do it. Well, he did not look good when he did it. And again, I don't mean aesthetically didn't look good. He looked in great shape aesthetically. But his eyes, his face, it just looked so drawn and so dry that you got to ask, that wasn't healthy. Now, Eubank Sr. is still reiterating that that's the main reason why he wasn't happy with that fight. Well, certainly he was right, because Eubank Jr. didn't look good even at 159. I can only imagine what the extra £2 would have done. But part of me does still wonder if he knew there was something up with VADA and the testing prior to what we know now. So I'm just trying to think here, lads. Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. I'm not going to get too excited about that because I have a funny feeling both guys will fight in December, but they won't be fighting each other. But you can always hope. This year has been a bit of a nightmare for boxing. It really has. It seems like every fight that could have been made, didn't get made. And all the fights that could have been made just fell by the wayside, or something happened, or it's not ideal. Not been an ideal year. Now, I'm just trying to think what else is there. Obviously, with Shields Marshall this week, looking forward to that. I'll be home for that. Obviously, I'm home tomorrow. So back to business. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's not. I think we got a good bit into this, but it's not easy when you don't have when you can't just be scrolling through. I only realised that when I took everything out, it was like, crap, I've no phone. And if you can hear the kind of ringing in here, that's because I have the fan on, because it's quite warm in here, so I have it turned down nice and cool, but it's making a lot of noise. So if it's picking up on that, apologies. It's not the mic, it's just the fan. And yeah, I'll leave you with that, lads. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. People, it's been going well. We're less than 600 away from 10k. Let's keep going. Let's do it. 10k, end of the year, easy work. People, for now, I'll talk to you. Peace.